My name is Carmelita, and I'm an addict. And I want to thank the young man who called to ask me to come here today. It's always a privilege when someone asks me to do something. I want to thank the young lady that I sponsor who was willing to drive me here. I also want to thank the God of my understanding for the beautiful weather for today and waking me up this morning so I could do the responsible things. I want to give God some praise because not only am I here today, but my daughter is also. And the people in the fellowship always told me, you keep going to meetings so that when she show up, it'll all be all right. I really thank God because He knows just what to do and when to do it. I came from a little town in Maryland called Croon. Nobody knows where that is, so don't worry about it, okay? But I was there until I was 19 years of age, and my life just blew wide open at 19. My mother and father separated, and I got to go to a place called Moonlight Inn. And they was having big fun, and I said, well, I can have fun now because she gone. My mother was the controller, the disciplinary in my household. So when she left, I got to do what I've been wanting to do for years. I wouldn't even go back to college because I wanted to go out and drink and have fun. And I didn't have ever a particular drink. I drank whatever was put on the table and chase it with whatever I could get. Go home 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, get up and go to my job, change clothes, and go back to Moonlight Inn the next night. And I did that on a regular basis. And then my mother heard that I was doing things that she didn't like. So they came back to Croon to get me. And I don't know what the hell they thought they could do, you know. They had let me loose. And I went to the government employment office and got a job at a place called Ben's Chili Bowl. Even if you go there today, it's still there. And all the addicts, all the moonlighters, all the gamblers, all the prostitutes, and people like me just hanging around still go there with no purpose in life. One day I met a guy who came in that place, and he said something I thought was really great. He said, "Hi, baby." And that was all that he had to say. That was all. And I went off with this man like he was the God up above. I didn't know the guy was doing things, you know, like shooting dope and selling dope and whatever else. But I just knew that he loved me because he said, "Hi, baby." Now, we never did get married, but there's only one thing about that story. Every time I looked up, somebody was saying, "Hi, baby." And I was going off to the races again. That's really my story. I didn't go out and shoot people and rob places and get ugly. I ain't do none of that. I just allowed him one day to give me a shot of heroin. You know, I ain't do no puffing before or snorting or none of that. I mainlined heroin the first time I used it. and it made me feel real good. And I said, this is it. This is it. I've been wondering all my life where this was. I was strung out. I heard somebody in here say today, I thought I was the only one, but I was addicted in 7 days. 7 fucking days. I woke up one morning, eyes running, nose running, feeling chilly, then getting hot, vomiting, and I'm saying, what's wrong with me? So we thought, of course, I was pregnant. Well, that wasn't true either. I had a habit, and he said, you're going to get one more shot, just one more. And I said, okay, because I did not understand the process then. And I began to use. And I began to use. And I'm going to tell y'all something. I really became a user. I used heroin like it was sugar. And I did that whether I had to go to work, go to church, go wherever I had to go. I shot up dope. One time I had to go to my grandmother's funeral in Philadelphia, and I had to go somewhere and get me enough dope so I could get back to Washington. But you know what I did at my grandmother's funeral? I overdosed. And my mother was so unhappy. She had told me I was going to be nothing and have a house full of kids and go nowhere. Well, that was cool. I said I'll let her be right for once. I ain't got no problem with that. Folks, I used for a long time, 20 years, I used heroin. I did not, get a little of this and a little. I use heroin. And I'm going to tell you something. That shit is, what it does to you is unbelievable. And I would not do that to a dog today. I had a problem with identifying in my own life. So when I started to use heroin, there was no identity at all. During the years, I had 2 children out of wedlock. I had a mother, thank God for her, because she raised my 2 kids, okay? I might have kept them for a year or 2 after they were born. I got married in those years. We stayed together for a long time, and then he, asked me to marry him. We stayed together 2 months after the marriage. I don't know where that fucker is right now. I really don't. I just had regular problems in my life. I was not being haunted by the police or nothing like that. The only bad thing I really did at that time, I borrowed money a lot. And I went to every loan company I could find. And I owed all of them money. And I was able always, when I went into my first treatment in 1962, okay, I met a guy who was coming in for treatment, and he said, hi, baby. We had to go first before he come into treatment. And it just kept doing this over and over and over and over, just that simple. I've always had a job, never went without a job, because my mother told me when I was a girl, you better take care of you. Nobody's going to take care of you, okay? So I kept a job. I even got a job in the good government when I went to treatment. And nobody never questioned anything. And I was a good worker, always was a good worker. After all these years of dipping in and dipping out, I finally started doing something I really hoped and prayed to God I could do it, and that was to try to commit suicide. I was becoming really sick of myself. And every time, no matter how much I took, no matter how many pills I took, I would wake up in the hospital with IVs running everywhere, and I'd say the same old thing. Why don't they let me die? I didn't know about God then. I didn't know. And then one day, I really had had enough. I really had had enough. There's a corner there in Washington called 14th and T. And I went to that corner one night, and me and this guy and 4 or 5 other addicts in a place that was roach infested, dirty, just awful. Places like that I never went to, but I did that night, and no matter what I used, it didn't work. I thought somebody had tricked me. They took my dope, or they just gave me some powder or whatever. But you know what? It was dope. I didn't know about God then. And I had my first rude awakening that night. I came out of that place on a bright sunny day like today, and I said, I got to go get me some help. I had known about treatment. I had known somebody I'd been with on the street. And I went right to the magic monastery in Washington, D.C. called St. Elizabeth. Yes, I did. And I asked those people would they help me, and they said yes, but I had to sit in this corner of that office and look at a sign that said, don't blow this chair for 8 hours. You see, back there, they had what you call therapeutic communities, and they didn't play. It was the first time anybody had ever called me a bitch. But I couldn't do nothing about it. I was doing just that bad. After I sit there 8 hours, they came and got me and said, we're ready to interview you. By the time they got ready to start the interview, I was down on bending knees, begging those people to help me. You see, today, the addict that comes in the room don't even know what fucking pain is. They just have a bad day and come to the fellowship. You know, they done run out of money, or mama won't give them none, or whatever, you know. I was in that kind of pain that is not at all describable. And I told them people, y'all cannot send me out of here. And they said they would help me. I didn't like that kind of treatment because they didn't play. We were cursed out every day. We worked hard. We worked like we were slaves. You could eat off the floor in this place. It was so damn clean. But I stayed there as often as I wanted to leave. The program was 24 months. And they worked me, baby. The only good thing about my job situation, I was screwing my boss, so he couldn't tell nobody where I was. Anyway, I got through that program, and then I called him and said, I'm ready to come back to work, but I got to come back here to this place every night, because this program follows you all the way through aftercare and then 1 year living on the street. That program worked for me. I wish we had that program today. I finally went back to my job, but I knew I couldn't stay there because I was working for the Narcotics Treatment Administration, you know, the methadone clinic. Well, nowhere in the world I could stay there. One day a girl came in there and I helped her, and what she did was said, here, Carmelita, and it was a handful of dope. And I said, I got to go. I got a job at the VA hospital. And I'm telling you, it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. The one thing I realized in treatment, because they talked about it a lot, they said, Carmelita, you can be creative and have a life. I had no idea. I was very shy. I was very pathetic when I got here. I was still feeling sorry for myself, and it just didn't seem like there was any hope. But when I got that job, it was mostly all men. Just 1 or 2 women might come through there. And you know what? I knew I had to have some balls now. because these guys would have me back out there on the corner. So I learned how to do something. I learned how to confront people. And when I would walk in the building early in the morning, and one of them would be right there at my office door, and I'd say, "Come here, boy." And y'all should know where I went from there. I did to them what they did to me. But I tell you what, just like me, they are clean, full of recovery. One of them just spoke to you. They got their own businesses, their own homes and cars and wives and everything, because that was the kind of treatment that worked. And they told me all I had to do was give it back. In 1976, after being in treatment 3 years, I was taken to my first meeting. And for all of you who have a problem, I was taken to AA because it was the only thing in Washington, D.C. And those people know they didn't want us, but I got in there and kept my damn mouth shut and listened to whatever they were saying. And the one thing I heard was, keep coming back. Now, for a lot of people in Washington, they really don't know me, the newer people. They've heard my name, but they don't even know that it was me and my sponsor who got NA started on the East Coast. We sent out to California for that little white book. At that time, it wasn't but 7 pages. Y'all know nothing about that. But that was all right. They told us don't change nothing, just follow the book. And they have to tell addicts that, okay? We started some meetings. I got them boys out of the BA program, and that's what happened to us. And it wasn't that long before we were having the World Convention, 1985, in Washington, D.C. People came from all over the world. We could count the people from D.C. on our hands. But we had the best convention ever. And if you ask somebody that's been around, they will tell you it was the best. Because you know what? We were people back there that worked in this fellowship. We had meetings in basements of churches with no floor in there. We was on dirt. But we had meetings, okay? Be cold as hell, hot as hell, but we still had a meeting. And the first thing I did when I got here was to get a sponsor. And that was not difficult to do. I was told what meeting to go to. That woman was leading the meeting, and I said after she spoke, "You gonna be my sponsor." And all I heard was the beauty in her story. I had forgotten all about all that shit where she said she was walking naked and all that stuff. When she got to talking about God and her life, I said, oh my goodness, if I could just get a little bit of that. I was motivated to get better. And I started to do just that. You know what? Nobody come in the room and say, well, you don't work the first step till you've been here a year. I said, Lord have mercy. That's what the children are telling each other in the meetings. That's all we ever did in meetings, was to talk about the steps, the principles, the traditions. We did not have discussion groups. I don't know where that fucker is that started that. If I ever could find him, because no addict needs to be having a discussion group. We all talk too much. And one thing I learned was I couldn't talk because I didn't know nothing about that fellowship. So I was placed in meetings where I was learning how to work the first step right away. It was not no year, 6 months, 2 years, or whatever. I don't understand what happened. And then again, I do know what happened. I began to do step work immediately. I never had a problem with the first step. I knew I was powerless. Always felt that way. But you know what I thought? I thought if I had enough money, that I'd be all right. You know, I could take care of my kids, I could pay my bills. But that wasn't the unmanageability that they were talking about. See, it was just said, they were talking about this shit up here. You understand? This is jail right here. And some of us are still in trouble. They have a pamphlet out, and I can't think of it right now. It's all about you being wound up within yourself. What is that pamphlet called? All right. All right. That's the one. You better read it. Okay? So first step work is good. And my sponsor told me, she didn't do no whole lot of talk. She said, don't pick nothing up, bitch. So I didn't pick up nothing. No drink, no dope, no nothing, okay? When we started working on the second step, I knew that I was right for that first step. I had been in every hospital in Washington on the psych unit, and I couldn't understand why they always sent me there. And nobody ever told me why, okay? This will tell you just how lost I really was. But each time I tried to commit suicide, they keep you on the medical unit for a little while and then switch you to psychiatry, okay? Those people didn't know nothing about drugs, so they didn't do no talking about that. They were talking about, now, how do you feel today? Is there anything you would like to talk about? And I would just sit there. So I never got what I needed. The minute I would go into a hospital and stay 3 months to 6 months would be my day of discharge, suitcase and all, I was back to 14th and T to get started all over again. But coming into the fellowship, there were 3 things I did. I went to meetings, I went to work, and then I carried my big ass home. Some of you need to go home because you don't even know what you got there. Some of you not just need to go home, you need to take a look at what you got in your house or your apartment or wherever you are, okay? I had 2 children to take care of, and I didn't think about loving them, caring about them. I knew it was important to pay the rent, to pay the bills, to make sure they had clothes on their back, food in their mouth. Those were the kind of things that my mother did, because she never did say, I love you, Carmelita. And I certainly didn't tell my children that I loved them. But I was accountable for my actions. I went home every night. I worked at that VA, working different shifts and everything. Didn't make no difference. I just worked. I wanted to stay busy 24/7. If I could stay busy, I wouldn't get up in my head. I wouldn't start thinking about just a little bit. You know, when I was in treatment, they would find me sitting somewhere by myself, just kind of feeling, you know. I was looking for veins. Because I thought as soon as I got out there, I'd go use. But this time I wasn't doing that because I stayed busy. I really did. I would be so tired when I come home, I went to bed. I didn't talk to my kids. I didn't ask them how was their day, how do you feel, do you need anything? I didn't. But I did go home, and they did not have to worry about having a roof over their heads. My mother did the same thing, okay? And I'm more like her than anybody else in the world. When we got to the 3rd step, after I realized how insane I was told about God by my sponsor. She said, Carmelita, you can use my God until you find one of your own. I wonder if any of y'all got a sponsor like that. It's good if you have, but I know most of you don't, because there's selfish people in Narcotics Anonymous now, okay? So I used her God, and the way I used him, I went to church with her. I went to Bible study with her, and I just went with her wherever she went. But I didn't understand, and I didn't have the guts to tell her I didn't understand. But it came a day when I asked the guy in meetings, how do you pray? He said, just get on your knees and check in. I went home one night, got on my knees and said, here I am. Got up, went to bed. The next night, here I am. You know? But I was going to meetings and I was hearing other people talking about praying and asking God for help and all this. It came a day when I asked him, would you please help me? And then I learned how to say a few more other things. You see, you need to know how we really are what they call us today, dinosaurs. You really need to know that we were people that struggled, and we got through it with some knowledge. We didn't sit around and find out, well, who going to the club tonight after the meeting? And who going to the disco? And hey, y'all, come on over to my house. We can, hang out for a little while. Oh, no, we didn't do that. We hung at the meeting place for an hour having a meeting. We went to the parking lot where the cars were and had a meeting. We got in the car and had one. And then whatever parking lot we got to, we had another meeting. Or we go to one of those little places where you can buy cheap coffee and have a meeting. You see, we were doing what you're unable to do today, and that is we really fellowshiped. We knew the people we were in meetings with. We didn't have all this crap about, well, I don't trust women. Well, who the fuck trusts you? People can come up with the damnedest stuff in this program. But my sponsor told me I better trust somebody. And I did. I trusted her. My sponsor did for me what none of you will ever experience. I saw my sponsor every day for 3 years. You hear me? Every day. That ain't counting the phone calls. Because she would wake me up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Hello, sunshine. It's time to go. And I'd say, this woman is crazy. She'd call me at 12 noon and say, Carmelita, turn your radio to such and such a station. And it was a minister at 9th and O who had a prayer service. And I needed that service every day. She'd call me at 4 o'clock and said, I'm going to this meeting. I'll meet you there. But you know what they want today? They want curb service today. Come pick me up. They told me to get to a meeting and we'll get you home. You see, that's work. And some of you don't know nothing about work. I believe that there had been a God in my life because I wasn't dead. And I began to reflect over my past. I did my 4 steps, y'all. I did not play around with it. And the one thing that encouraged me to do it, I met one of my old buddies, and we had kind of, fiddle around a little bit. And we took a lover's walk And the next thing I knew, that fool was running over to the dope man copping. And I said, oh my God, it scared me so bad, y'all, I didn't know what to do. But I ran, got a cab, went to my house, told him if he didn't get the fuck out of my house, I'd kill him. And called my brother, and my brother was there in 15 minutes. I ain't had to worry about that no more. I don't know if any of you experienced that. You know what I'm saying to you? I could not use again. I could not use heroin again. I could not be around nobody that was using heroin again. I don't want to be around nobody nodding. Even to this day, if you got a nod, get the fuck out my way. I did my 4 steps right after that. And my sponsor told me when I was doing it, she says, you get a nice bright light, get your pen, get your pad, cut off all the TVs, radios, and start to write. And what I did first, I wrote about sex first, because that was my most glaring problem. And if I didn't do something about that, it wasn't going to be no recovery. And I listed every man, woman, chicken, or child I had ever been with. Some of them I couldn't remember by name. I remember some kind of thing that occurred. You know, I used to bring guys home and cook dinner and put a gift in the plate and all this kind of shit and say, it's going to be wonderful. Yeah, it was for them because they took all that, ate like a dog, and left, you know. But that's all right. It opened up my life when I did my 4 steps. And I got to do one thing that many of you may not get to do. I got to see what an ass I really was. When I put that shit on paper and had to go back and read it, and then they talking about I got to tell somebody this. I said, oh, my God. But I had to. My sponsor said, Carmelita, I don't work with people with the 5th step. I said, well, what am I going to do? She said, you have to tell somebody else. And you know why she didn't do it? Because my sponsor, even to this day, she talks about her and everybody. And she said, if you tell me something, I'll talk about it in the meeting. And I was not ready for that. Oh, no, I was not ready for everybody to know what I'd done. So I did. I found somebody I knew, trusted, and believed in. And it was a man. And it was the best decision I made. Because I got that particular problem really dealt with. And I didn't have to walk around with my head down, feeling sorry for myself no longer. He helped me to understand that we all do these things, that we're no different from one another. I may have a degree of this and you may have a degree of that, but what's important is that we have these steps to help us to work it out. 6 and 7. Don't believe nobody when they tell you they done did 6 and 7 in a month or 2. Please don't. It's going to take you 3, 4 years to do 6 and 7. You got to first find out what your character defects are. See, and that means that you've got to experience it. And then you got to get that piece of paper and write about that shit. And then you got to get down on your knees and ask God, please remove it. But, oh, you got people in meetings, well, I ain't ready to get rid of my lust yet. Well, go right on, keep it, and you'll also get HIV positive. We got a lot of people don't want to let the lust go. And don't depend on a rubber. They break too. And there's so many people in Washington, D.C. that are HIV positive till it ain't funny. And a whole lot that have died from the disease. I wrote my list of people at home, and I'm going to tell you, you put everybody on that list. The boyfriend, the husband, you put the children, mama, daddy, you put all them people you owe money to, all them women you done disrespected. There's a whole lot of people be on that list. And the most important thing about your 8-step list, don't have to add no more to it. Don't come in this fellowship and go to bed with somebody's husband like I did. I tell you, boy, I couldn't believe myself. After I had about 3 years, I did good not to get hooked up, but at the 3rd year, I was feeling good and woo! And this guy said something to me, the same shit. Hi, baby. Well, my sponsor told me it wasn't going to work, and of course it didn't. The man's wife called me right at the club and says, why do my husband have to go everywhere you go? I said, honey, I don't know. But he didn't go anymore, okay, because I had to take care of that right away. The 9th step says, make those amends. But let me tell you, folks, don't do that on your own. Don't make no amends until you have talked to your sponsor. The God of your understanding will let you know when to make amends. I didn't make amends to my mother until I was in this program 9 years. But when I did, when I went to her house one day, nobody was there. I locked the windows, the doors, and everything, and I said, Mama, I got to talk to you. She said, girl, you crazy. But I started to talk, and I told Mama how I felt. And you know what my mother told me? She said, Carmelita, you are the one pregnancy that I really wanted. And you know what she said? She said, I love you, Carmelita. Baby, that felt so good. And I was able to make amends before both of them died, Mommy and Daddy. I was so glad that I had done what my sponsor told me to do. The 10th step will have us checking ourselves every day. And you really need to check yourself every day. And I pray and ask God every day to forgive me, because sometimes I don't know when I've done wrong. I know I don't physically bother anybody, but there are times when my thinking, and there's been a few in Washington, D.C., I just wanted to kill. I really did. I wanted to kill a couple of them women, but I couldn't. So I had to ask God to forgive me. I had a boss that was nodding between his knees every day and coming to work at 9, 10 o'clock, leaving at 12 and don't come back till 3. And I said, I can't stand this. My sponsor said, I'm tired of you talking about your boss. Please pray for him. I said, what? Pray for him? The 10th step says, when you're wrong, promptly admit it. I was wrong talking about that. I talked about that man like a dog. And he had a wife and children. But I prayed for him. 13 days straight. If I had not done it one day, then I had to go back and start all over again. He didn't change, but my attitude did. And then one day he came in, and the boss man told him, here's your papers to sign. Folks, I got to hurry up now. I got the job at the VA as the chief counselor when he left. I got myself in the 11th and 12th step of this program, and people have called me from all over the United States. Would you please come and share? I have been to so many places, I don't know that I could ever think of how many and go over the list and understand it. But I tell you what God did. He gave me a chance to know that I have a purpose in life. And my purpose is to help my sister and my brother with no strings attached. I sponsored a lot of women. I took women on retreats. I made sure I would bring one with me wherever I went so they could get the exposure. You're supposed to take your sponsees with you. Let them know what's going on. Let them know about your little stinking ass. Because some of us think we're really in charge. I found God in Narcotics Anonymous, folks. I had went to church as a young child. My mother said we had to go every Sunday. But it's in this fellowship I found God. I'm not a church-going person, but I live every day that God gives me. So when He wakes me up in the morning, I get the fuck up. I am right now in a nursing home because I got a lot of stuff not so good with me, but I'm happy. I have a private room, and my room looks just like anybody else's home. It's beautiful. I got flowers in it, all kinds of decorations, pictures, teddy bears, and everything. The one thing that I have in my heart today is no matter where I am, I live as a child of God. I am not looking to do something wrong. I don't do wrong things today. And everybody in this program needs to be aware of that. It's all about the change. If you're not changing, go back out there and use enough dope. Drink enough alcohol, and then come on back in here. There's too many people in this program that's not doing what they're supposed to do. Now, this is what I want you to do, and I do have to stop because they were nice enough to let me go next because I can't be out too late. While I'm singing this song, I want every one of you to look at somebody in this room, and I want you to say, and you don't have to make a lot of noise now, just say to that person, I care. C-A-R-E. Okay? Because of you, there's a song in my heart. Because of you, my life has had its start. Because of you, the sun will shine. The moon and stars will say you're mine forever and ever to part. I only live for the strength and hope you give. It's heavenly to know you're so near. Because of you, my life is now worthwhile, and I can smile because of you. Thank you.